Hi, I wanted to come on and talk about something I'm really excited about. It's related to that documentary you may have heard me talk about earlier, The Torah Decoded. I'm piecing together I'm restructuring my podcast essentially. Um, I I now have what I think is the original intention of the author of the Torah. The Torah, if you don't know, is the five books of Moses, and I'm flabbergasted. I'm really excited because I'm uncovering a lot of intimate detail in the Torah text, the Hebrew text, that first of all doesn't come through in English translations, and it shows a far different perspective. For example, the Garden of Eden story is one of my favorites that is very different. And I'm approaching the subject from the point of view of a screenwriter or a storyteller. I don't think these events actually happened, but that doesn't mean that they don't have significance, philosophical significance. And I'm also trying to understand the mindset of the author. I do believe that there was either one author or essentially one authorial effort. This documentary is a refutation, it's an argument against the documentary hypothesis that suggests that the Torah was a patchwork, a stitched effort of an effort to stitch together several different texts from different authors, kind of not randomly, but somewhat randomly. No, I argue in this documentary that it's one author, one authorial effort, I should say, and I want to read off just quickly what I would call like the working paper, the fundamentals in my new theory. Number one, I believe that I'm not going by anything outside the Torah text. I'm reading literally what the Torah text says, fresh, anew, with no preconception. That the deity has two facets. One is Yud He Vav He. That's the famous Tetragrammaton. You may have seen in English Bibles as YHVH. The other facet is Elohim, and I go into this a lot more deeply in my documentary. But they are focused on two different aspects, and this is very, very important. Yud He Vav He is concerned with the Hebrew word tzedek, or tzaddik. It's sometimes translated as the righteous one, or righteousness, sorry, a righteous person, or justice, tzedek. The other aspect, Elohim, is concerned more with tov and ra, and I have wanted to consult and get the actual translation of tov and ra. In English Bibles, it's typically translated as good and evil. However, a more accurate understanding is functional and dysfunctional. So it's not evil in the sense of morality. It's that something is chaotic. The Hebrew term being raw. Chaotic doesn't work. Dysfunctional. The opposite of that being functional, works well. That would be tov. So I wrote out three primary points of my documentary, my theory. I had to come up with a name for it. So these are the two terms or two facets for the same deity. That's the first point. And that tamim is another Hebrew term that means wholeness or completeness, the aspect of being complete. And I suspect that in order to be complete, you have both Yud He Vav He, a connection to Yud He Vav He, or embody the aspects of Yud He Vav He, and the aspects of Elohim. in order to be complete. That's number one. Number two, that there was no original sin, that Satan does not appear in the original Garden of Eden story. It's a um, far different story, different ramifications, different rationales for what happened in the Garden of Eden. Um, and there's an importance about walking, the concept of walking. Adam and Eve saw Yud Hey Vav Hey Elohim walking in the cool of the day. They hid themselves, and that has a profound implication or ramification going forward throughout the rest of the Torah, all 5 books of Moses. And that's part of the separation from the garden. They hide themselves from the deity walking through. And of course, Eve was talking with the serpent. They both the serpent and Eve refer to Elohim. However, they don't refer to Yud Hey Vav Hey, the other aspect of the deity. And I believe that that's a major aspect that becomes lost in translation into English Bibles. I believe that it seems rather that when eating the fruit from the tree, they gained the knowledge or an awareness of Tov and Ra, an awareness of functionality and what's dysfunctional. And their eyes were opened, and they noticed that they were naked, blah, 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 blah. And the primary concern of Yud Hey Vav Hey Elohim is that if they also eat from the tree of life, they would live forever. They have already eaten. This is a key point, too, that people miss. They've already eaten from the tree of knowledge of Tov and Ra, and therefore have become like Elohim. So they have an ability, like Elohim, to be able to distinguish between functionality and dysfunctionality. So Yud Hey Vav Hey becomes concerned that they also eat from the tree of life and live forever. So at the beginning, see, this is a growth arc through the 5 books for Yud Hey Vav Hey. I don't believe, well, no, rather, I believe, it seems very clear that the text shows Yud Hey Vav Hey as changing his attitude and learning and becoming more optimistic. It's more of a two-way street in terms of the Israelites and in terms and the Adam's descendants before the Israelites and Yud Hey Vav Hey. The growth arc of Yud Hey Vav Hey is his changing attitude about Adam's descendants, and then becoming more optimistic about reestablishing a connection with Adam's descendants. He chooses the Israelites. He chooses Abram, and therefore the Israelites eventually, to reestablish that connection. And that is the primary goal of Yud Hey Vav Hey through the course of the entire 5 books. That's point number 2. Point number 3, there are 4 subparts about the mindset that I am figuring out of the author. The first one is that the Torah itself has 5 different layers of depth of theme, and that it's a cleverly artistic structure. It displays a wealth of theme, and possibly it's a counterpart to the following set of books, which is Joshua to Kings. Perhaps Joshua serves as a pivot as he appears at the end of Deuteronomy, the final book in the Torah, and then makes a major presence in the next book, which is the book of Joshua, of course. And that seems to flow, Joshua to Kings, that set of books, seems to flow very well, as though it was constructed perhaps that way. So I'm talking about two sets of texts. That's number one. Number two, the author's mindset had a primary focus on preserving purity in many aspects and preventing one tribe from becoming too powerful. Now, I often have used Claude AI to have it search through the text, and I have a dialogue with Claude AI, and I have a good grounding of the Torah myself. But I asked Claude to ignore any moral feeling or just moral feeling about the commandments that today would seem immoral or unethical, such as slavery, for example, and stoning and so forth. So I asked it to assess some possible, to assess, looking through all of these commandments that seem distasteful to us now, what was the mindset? What possibly could have been the mindset of the author for deciding to structure them that way? There had to have been some rationale, and that's what Claude AI suggested. Preserving purity in several different aspects, and a focus on purity of the tribe. It's much more a nation rather than a collection of tribes rather than an individual, it seems. And then the third part, the author used certain numbers symbolically with gematria, or by using gematria. Gematria is well established in Judaism. I have heard that it's also something in Greek tradition too, that a letter of the alphabet also carries numerical value, a certain numerical value, and you can add up the numerical values of the letters in a word or a name to get the numerical value of the word or the whole word or name. And clearly the author seems to have used that. And I want to elaborate on that further in the documentary. The fourth and last thing, the author wrote only a couple of centuries or so before the Christian era began. This goes against what was previously the primary notion that that the Torah is at least 3,000 years old, or a couple thousand years before the Christian era began, 4,000 years. I suspect that it's much closer to the Christian era, perhaps in the 3rd century BCE. That would be before the Common Era, or BC, before Christ. So this is just something that I wanted to quickly put on. There's that importance of walking, and Yud-Hey Vav-Hey having this emphasis or this focus on wanting Abram to be complete, and Noah was talked about as being complete, whole, tamim, and I believe that refers to having the qualities of both Yud-Hey Vav-Hey and Elohim. So I hope you're having a good day. Just wanted to put this on, and thanks. Bye.